The Women's World Cup Show.
On Off the Ball.
With Sure Non-Stop Protection Deodorant. Official sponsor of the FIFA Women's World Cup 2023.
Now then, Spain are your World Cup champions. They were 1-0 winners against England yesterday morning in front of 75,000 fans in Sydney. They are first-time World Cup winners. Gavin Cooney, the 42, is still with us this evening. So many strands to this win. The one that I think probably stopped everyone in their tracks was news of the captain, Olga Carmona, who scored the goal. Really well taken goal. Beautiful. Finished the Real Madrid left back. 23 years of age, and from one of the great days in her life to, as she said herself, the worst day of her life. So her father had been fighting an illness for some time. He passed away on the Friday. Which is, when I first heard the news, I presumed it may have happened the morning of the game or even during the game, but he had died on the Friday. And her family, her mother, her brothers elected not to tell her. They flew out to Australia on Saturday to be with her when the news was broken to her. And she tweeted, it's incredibly moving. I mean, it's just so dreadful. I know you've been watching me tonight, and I know you're proud of me. Rest in peace, Dad. And to think of her father not seeing her do what she did in a World Cup.
Yeah.
She followed up on Monday and said, yesterday, the best and worst day of my life. And I can only imagine. So absolutely extraordinary backdrop to this game.
Just astonishing. It's difficult to imagine that she scored that goal and celebrated without him entering her head, and it's also difficult to imagine that he didn't enter her head as she lifted the trophy or as she, celebrated with her teammates with a World Cup medal around her neck. Just astonishing. I mean, I have no idea. I initially obviously saw the tweet from the Spanish Federation last night and assumed in my ignorance that he had passed away that day, that it had happened on the Friday. That's a day and a half, potentially 2 days before the final. I have no idea, what's the right decision in that. There's no playbook for that, and there's no right or wrong decision. I just can't imagine, as I'm referring to, obviously, whether to tell Carmona or not. So that's extraordinarily difficult for the family to lose the father in the first place, and then have that added issue to it, and then just a kind of a range of emotion that I don't think many people on earth will ever feel. Crazy.
I dare say it was the right decision.
Yeah, I've no idea. I mean,
I suspect, I don't know anything about her father's illness. I don't know, was he conscious and communicative up until his death, or whether that wasn't the case, but I suspect lots of parents in that instance would say,
would shield, yeah.
Let my daughter play the game. Don't you dare tell her. That's the kind of...
Yeah, and it's such, to keep her in the dark on it for a day and a half or potentially up to 2 days beforehand.
It's real.
There are things, family's more important than football. I don't want to come across as kind of preaching what the right thing and the wrong thing to do is. I have no idea what the right thing or the wrong thing to do in that situation is. Just your heart goes out to the family and to Carmona. Just
yes,
awful.
The game as a whole, there is a general sense that Spain have won this World Cup by dint of similar qualities to their male counterparts during that golden age not so long ago. Technical superiority and ability to manipulate the ball, tight spaces, passing range, quality, I suppose, broad heading.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. I think there were 6 Barcelona players starting in the men's team in 2010 and 6 Barcelona players starting yesterday for the Spanish women's team. I thought that the women's team had a bit more about them, to be honest. They had just a couple more dimensions to their play. I mean, they had Redondo able to run in behind and kind of make those kind of darting runs in off the right flank. She didn't have a great final, in fairness to her. And they could also go long to Paralejo, the striker, who was... he's a left-sided attacker as far as I'm aware, but obviously he is tall and has a brilliant touch. So anytime they could get in a little bit of difficulty and England tried to press them, they could go long. But in saying that, it was a win founded on the best of Spanish football that we've seen, since Guardiola took charge of Barcelona in the men's team. I mean, Bon Mati is just a dream of a footballer. She's she's got that ability to glide across the ground in possession that Iniesta had. She's got the ability to kind of just pass her way around anyone. She's got to kind of pause, almost kind of goad the opposition into pressing her and then popping it off at exactly the right moment that Javi had. And she's also super athletic. I mean, she's no need to be as fast as she is because she's so good in possession, but she's speedy regardless. So she is an absolute superstar, and I think she encapsulates all the kind of Spanish, when we think of kind of Spanish football qualities, I do think she encapsulates them. So, I mean, 1-0, I have to say, massively flattered England. I thought Spain were way too good for them.
And what did you make of the English performance?
I mean, it wasn't great. I just thought they were overwhelmed, to be honest. Michael Cox did a good piece of The Athletic saying this is no time for scapegoats or hysterical reactions among the English press. No Serena out. I don't want to see that trending, that kind of thing. Just they were beaten by such a better team. There was the FIFA stats department published what was actually, I wasn't expecting it to be as good, this kind of tactical guide to both the teams that they published ahead of the final, and their stats showed that England, no team had been put under less pressure when receiving the ball in midfield in England. Now, how they measure that, I'm not fully sure, but it's an interesting stat. But it definitely didn't survive the final because Spain pressed them and they just couldn't deal with it. And then the second half, it became very rudimentary. It was very kind of route one, which honestly, I mean, to be honest, made sense. Didn't really understand why Alessia Russo was taken off, because she had the pace and the ability to run in behind. I don't think Lauren Hemp really had that to the same extent. And then to see them chasing the game with Millie Bright up front, and it was a Beth England thrown on as well. So two big strikers just to get it launched in the final moments.
Get Louise Quinn up there.
I know. We scoff at Ireland doing it, but obviously England do it in a World Cup final, and it did feel like a parody of the chasm between the two sides. I thought that. Obviously there's the penalty save from Mary Earps, but I thought honestly 3, potentially 4-0 wouldn't have flattered Spain at all. Okay,
because I was recording the paper review in here yesterday, so I didn't get to watch the game. I've seen the goal, which, like I said, was beautifully taken, and I've seen Mary Earps save a penalty and then just tell the world at large to go do one. There was a real fashion.
I mean, we did see it was the real stuff of English bloody mindedness. We also saw, is it Alex Greenwood come back on, having taken a knee to the face, come back on with a big bandage wrapped around her head, and you're thinking, God, this is real English football stuff. Centre half's up front, bandaged, the other centre half is bandaged together, the goalkeeper is raging against anyone in front of her.
Terry Butcher was not.
Yeah, but the best of English bloody mindedness had nothing to compare with the best of Spanish football.
Okay, because I'd been maybe working under the misapprehension that the English women's team was full of sophistication.
No, they are individually. I think like Ciara Walsh and Georgia Stanway are brilliant midfielders, and like Lucy Bronze is at Barcelona. But just as a team, they couldn't compete with that level of cohesion and that level of technical excellence. I thought that they just couldn't deal with it. And also tactically, in fairness, Serena Wiegman is a kind of a genius coach, but she was tactically outmanoeuvred by the reviled Jorge Vilda.
What is our understanding of what's happening here? The context for this entire tournament is that there was a mutiny of sorts against Jorge Vilda over the past year or so. 15 players walked away. I'm not exact on numbers as to how many stayed away. Certainly 4, if not several more. But a considerable quotient of players stayed away. Now, in the celebrations, there were screen grabs of the pitch which showed the players celebrating in the penalty area and the coaching staff celebrating on the sideline. Now, to be fair, that was just a photo, so I couldn't quite tell if that was, immediately at full time, when in fairness, the coaching staff would celebrate together. The players would be in the same part of the pitch. But then you read different reports which say that certain players refused to even look at their coach in the moment of glory in the celebrations. Others feel very indebted to him. Apparently Carmona, the goal scorer, does. There is also talk of a Real Madrid-Barcelona rift. It seems
that's the pure stuff of Spanish football.
Listen,
I have to say.
Show me a Spanish team, but it does seem as if the issue with Jorge Vilda is that they find his coaching methods, or some of the players find his coaching methods, antiquated.
Yeah, that seems to be it. And they also said that his coaching methods were having a negative impact on their emotional state and their health. But we've seen this in several other nations in Europe in particular. Like we've seen it with France ahead of the World Cup. Wendy Renard basically retired and said she wasn't coming back until Connie Diacre was booted out, and the French Federation.
Sorry to interrupt. You are dead right. There is a real degree of assertive public player power in the women's game.
Yeah.
Vera Pauw obviously, can attest to that after experience at Houston Dash, without making a judgment either way as to what was going on there. But certainly the Houston players talked about it. France talked about it. This Spanish situation really does seem to bubble up routinely.
Yeah, I think it's because I kind of think women's football is as much a protest movement still as it is a sport. I mean, players, you say players are empowered to kind of speak out for themselves more often, but they've had to.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know if they're empowered, but they're doing it.
But they're doing it. I mean, and they feel, okay, maybe, do they feel the confidence to do it? Maybe, maybe not. But I think they just feel the need to do it. I mean, something like, I think I tally them up, like half the teams going to this World Cup had been in some open dispute with their federation since 2015. So the Australia team pulled out of a US tour, went on strike over paying conditions. We know obviously Ireland threatened strike in 2017. Denmark withdrew from 2 friendly games during negotiations over for equal pay. Argentina went on strike in 2018. Their federation didn't replace the manager after the previous World Cup, didn't even play a game for 2 years, so they had to go on strike to fix that. The US team literally sued their own federation for equal pay. The New Zealand players, 13 New Zealand players I think it was, in 2019 signed a letter saying they wouldn't play under the current coach, similar to like Wendy Renard stepping away from France, saying that she wouldn't play for Diacre until she was removed. She was removed. Hervé Renard came in and Wendy Renard returned.
Yes.
Like this is general all over the women's game. So
Jamaican team letter as well about the lack of support. I'm not trying to outdo you, but I read the Guardian preview at the start of the tournament, and it was just highlighting this trend in the game.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was amazed this wasn't like a scandal handbrake up. Well, we need to examine this before we go any further. So on the eve of the tournament, I haven't heard anything otherwise since, but the Zambian coach, Zambia played a friendly against Ireland pre-tournament, the Zambian coach was accused of sexual misconduct, and one player told the Guardian, if he wants to sleep with someone, you have to say yes. It's normal that the coach sleeps with the players in our team. And the Zambian FA had handed it over to FIFA, and FIFA weren't saying very much. And I laugh because it's so mad that situation just seems to have trundled into the World Cup.
Yeah, it's crazy. And Samindra Kunti reporting in Forbes, I think it was published today, I read it today anyway, that he's being reassigned to a men's team job in the Zambian FA rather than being, dismissed.
Okay.
So it's indicative more broadly that this is still a men's world.
Yeah.
And we saw it. Like Luis Rubiales, the Spanish president, like his behaviour after Spain won yesterday was appalling. Like kissing Jenny Hermoso on the mouth during this trophy presentation. She admitted afterwards that she did not like that. There was he gave this weird kind of Simeone style thrusting gesture in celebration in the corporate box.
So the kiss I did see, we'll move on to Rubiales then. The kiss I did see on Hermoso, it was kind of like a Neville on Scholes, grabbed by the cheek kiss, and then the video emerged of him appearing to grab his crotch, making an obscene gesture near the Spanish Queen and her teenage daughter when the goal was scored. Is that it, or full time? I didn't. So what was the obscene gesture?
That was it. That he's thrusting his crotch into the night sky.
Right.
Basically, like Emmy Martinez. Ultimately, even Emmy Martinez felt bad about doing it in Qatar when he was celebrating winning the Golden Glove last year. Okay. And like this guy's at work. I mean, it's crazy behaviour.
The head of the organisation.
Yeah, I know. And then
which is doing a bloody good job. The organisation is the strange. Like you'd be sitting here going, well, what are Spain getting so right here? Something.
I know.
Incredibly well.
It's probably the product of investment at club level, really, and like there's. It is, of all that kind of context of, rebelling players and teams threatening strike action, very few of the federations remain stubborn, and Spain were the outlier. Like Vilda is still in charge. They did seem to kind of almost glory in his success as much as the teams afterwards, tweeting like Vilda in with a picture of him with the trophy afterwards. And some players returned, others didn't. You do wonder, what's in the head of those players who stayed away. Like that's very, very difficult situation.
I would say they were heartbroken.
Yeah.
Imagine watching the team win a World Cup, that coach win a World Cup, if you've had legitimate qualms, and then you just sit through that. Rubiales, the FA president, was asked to apologise. There was a mass criticism initially from politicians and various people in Spanish media. He said anyone who criticised him was an idiot. And then obviously 24 hours later came the video apology. I've no doubt made a mistake, I have to admit it, at a moment of maximum excitement, without any bad intention or bad faith. What happened in a very spontaneous manner. I repeat, without bad faith on either side. I mean, I don't think anyone's accusing Hermoso of bad faith. I mean, I don't want Hermoso to be blamed for this, says Rubiales. We didn't understand really what occurred afterwards because we saw it as something normal and natural. But it's caused controversy in some sectors, and some people appear to have been upset, and therefore I have to apologise. Oh. I mean, I'm sorry if you were offended.
I'm sorry if you took offence at what I did. I thought it was awful behaviour. I thought it was completely inappropriate, and to be honest, I'm surprised he hasn't resigned yet.
Yeah.
But
when you're doing that in the full glare of the world, it shows a certain kind of sense.
And like I'm sure there has been a lot of progress made by the teams who've qualified for this World Cup and advancing the women's game in their country and more broadly with the World Cup generally. But we turn again to the clarifying figure of Gianni Infantino with his equality speech on the eve of the World Cup final.
Yes, remind people there. It's up to you. I think
it's up to you. I mean, basically, we have empowered women now. We're listening. Pick the right battles, and we will listen. And, so that, I mean, implicitly that's saying, well, a woman will never sit in the seat of power here. But we're so progressive, we might even listen to you.
Yeah, so that was it. Because I was off. So again, you have to see things, and I saw headlines. In effect, he was like, pick your battles and your masters will.
Yeah,
we're more open.
And we might listen.
Why is he so kind of? I can't. I mean, I think the technical term is he gives me the ick.
Yeah,
and the runners and the suit and just the ego and the.
Astonishing, isn't it?
What is it about him that just screams? In another 10 years, when there's another FIFA scandal, they'll say, "Did you have suspicions?" I really did. I felt something was off.
I can't understand why so many people find him charismatic. Maybe there is a certain charisma there. He certainly cultivated almost a celebrity figure. Like, I mean, he initially, when he first took the job, he was talking about flying, like, I'll fly economy class on EasyJet. And instead, he spent most of the Women's World Cup, or certainly the start of it, jetting off in a private jet to like the Cook Islands or whatever other small little FIFA affiliate members are around him, pressing the flesh to make sure, obviously, that's good politics. But he attended far fewer games of this World Cup than he did the men's one.
Okay.
There's this celebrity figure about Gianni Infantino. We saw him in Qatar, man-mark Messi to the podium. Yesterday, like, the referee and the officials team had their photo taken, and he got in among them.
That was one I saw.
What was that about?
You don't need to. I don't think they need you. I don't think they want you there.
Not at all. And and then even like he presented, like, did he present medals? No, maybe. I can't remember whether he presented the medals.
He was first on stage.
He was first on stage, and I just remember because Lucy Bronze blanked him.
Okay.
Again, you don't see that in the men's game, but the cult of Infantino, I'll mind my pronunciations there, baffles me.
Okay. Broad final thoughts on World Cup at large. I've seen initial wonderings if America's grasp on world football is on the wane and Europe is about to step into the breach as one.
Yeah.
Jump to a conclusion. They were going for 3 in a row. I think that'd be okay. But, jump to conclusion, possibility, Europe going to get stronger. So that's one kind of theme from the 2023 World Cup. What would you say about it in broad terms? How it'll be remembered?
I think it will be remembered as the biggest one ever. I think it will be remembered as one of the real turning points, that this is going to become a major event now. You would hope that you would hope the next time Jamaica qualify, the Marley Family Trust won't have to fund them all that way. So maybe those kind of tangible, we'll hold our breath for those more tangible legacies. But, I'll remember, like, enjoy all World Cups, just how much I love it and how much I'll miss being able to tune into games at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday morning.
Spoken like a man with too much time in his hands. My God.
Preach, Joe.
Me and Mick were talking the other day. 11 killed us. We would have been better off 7, 8 a.m. once.
Really?
11 was when that's our prime getting errands done time. Like, you're just sitting there in your own filth. That's when appointments are 11. But no, it was very good, and I know it's the thing we'll be saying about every Women's World Cup probably for the next 10 of them, biggest one ever.
Yeah.
But this one did feel different to previous incarnations, I would say.
You see it through the extent to which Australia got on board. Like, I mean, the Matildas were like the nation's fervour this month, and I think they've kind of crossed into a level of public support that is not they're not going to retreat from. I don't think. And in fairness, like, do we say it about every men's World Cup? Certainly FIFA say that it's the biggest and best one ever. So that FIFA ballyhooing will be attached to the Women's World Cup as well.
Okay, well, the Women's World Cup showing off the ball is with thanks to Sure Non-Stop Protection Deodorant, official sponsor of the FIFA Women's World Cup 2023. Gavin Cooney, the 42, thank you.
Cheers.
The Women's World Cup Show
on Off the Ball
with Sure Non-Stop Protection Deodorant, official sponsor of the FIFA Women's World Cup 2023.